Hi, and welcome to the Thrive Alcohol-Free podcast. I'm Dupe Witherick, alcohol-free well-being and transformational coach, and the best-selling author of A Cocktail of Clarity, How to Ditch Drinking, Embody a Joyful New Identity, and Thrive Alcohol-Free. This podcast will show you that being alcohol-free is not what the traditional narrative says. And even though alcohol is so ingrained in our society that it is okay to give yourself permission to stop drinking if you want to. And you do not have to wait until you hit rock bottom. It is certainly not boring, and I believe ditching drinking is just the start to living an extraordinary life. By getting rid of this one thing, it allows the doors to open to endless possibilities and opportunities. Each week, we will have guests on who are at various stages of the alcohol-free journey, from those who are curious to those who have been alcohol-free for years. We will also have experts on talking about different topics relating to alcohol and beyond. Through these conversations, you will discover what it means to thrive alcohol-free. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Thrive Alcohol-Free podcast. I'm so pleased you're here, and I hope you've had the most wonderful week. I have another great guest on today, and so we will come to that. But before we go there, I just wanted to tell you a bit of a story. I really thought alcohol was my escape. It was my way to unwind, and it turns out that actually the real freedom came when I let it go. And so for years, I convinced myself that I had this healthy relationship with alcohol. I wasn't drinking every night. I wasn't blacking out. I was just having fun. A drink took the edge off after a glass of wine with dinner, a few gin tonics on a Saturday night. Well, what else would you do? I told myself it wasn't affecting me and that I could stop at any time I wanted and that alcohol wasn't taking anything away from me. But then what I realized was how much it was actually blocking me. So what I found when I took a break was that I was able to feel truly rested instead of feeling sluggish. I became far more present in conversations instead of feeling half distracted. I felt calm and clear-headed instead of feeling anxious and unsettled. And I didn't realize any of that was happening until I removed alcohol. And that's when I realized how much space it had been taking up. And that's because the truth is, the reason it feels hard to let it go is because alcohol has convinced you that you need it and it's an addictive substance. The reason it feels scary to stop is because it's become part of your identity. The reason you feel stuck in this cycle is because drinking is so normalized everywhere. And I know because I felt that too. And so did the people that had joined the 21-day challenge, and they thought that they wouldn't last a week, and then suddenly found that she'd never felt more in control of her choices. Someone else thought social events would be awkward, and now she feels more connected with people. Another one believed that she needed alcohol to unwind, and now she wakes up feeling calm and clear-headed. And they didn't think they could do it either until they did. And now one of the things everyone says is they can't believe they waited so long. And so that is why I created the 21-day alcohol-free challenge. And it isn't for you to quit forever. It isn't to shame you for drinking. It isn't to make you feel like there's something wrong with you. It's there to give you the space to just see what's possible. I'm so excited that I'm going to be running the 21-day alcohol-free challenge again. And I feel like it's really going to help you unlock your full potential. Imagine waking up feeling clear-headed, full of energy, and fully present with the people around you. I know the 21-day challenge is going to be an opportunity for you to reclaim your power and test how much better life can be when alcohol isn't in the way. And so what do you get from doing the challenge? Well, firstly, you're going to gain clarity on how alcohol impacts your productivity and how to break free from the cycle. You'll also get strategies to overcome cravings and break the wine o'clock habit. You'll gain confidence in navigating your first alcohol-free events. you'll get practical tools that are going to make these 21 days really feel empowering and enjoyable, not like you're white knuckling it or you have to do it. And you'll get the space to explore whether this lifestyle shift would work for you long term. And so this is a 21-day challenge. There's no pressure for you to think about, is it something I need to do forever? You'll get 3 live group coaching sessions, which are just amazing sessions in a really safe, non-judgmental space. You'll learn tools that will help you go alcohol free. And you'll also get hot seat coaching, and we do Q&As. And then you'll get daily inspiration, which includes motivational quotes, tips, journal prompts to keep you focused. There's a community as well, so you'll get community support from like-minded people. You'll be able to share your wins, your challenges, and they'll help you stay accountable. And then you'll get a copy of my book, Cocktail Clarity, which will help you really dive deeper into your alcohol-free transformation. And then finally, you'll get some other practical resources and goodies. So I would love it if you joined me on the 21-day challenge. If you are ready to take that leap, you're ready to explore being alcohol-free, why not join today and start your transformation? If this is something you're interested in, if you have been listening to this podcast for a while and you've been thinking, I do want to take a break, I'm ready, then this is your opportunity. And it is the lowest price point to work with me. And I love this challenge. I think it makes such a difference. And as I said, it's not forever. And if you end up drinking, we talk about that. There's no judgment. It's just an opportunity to explore and to experiment. If you would like to do the 21-day challenge, I will put the link below for you to join. There's also a VIP option where you can do 2 one-to-one coaching sessions with me as well, which are going to be highly personalized and help you tackle specific challenges and then get a set strategy for long-term success. I'd love you to be part of the group. And if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. You can DM me on Instagram at Thrive Alcohol Free, or you can book a call on the website, thrivealcoholfree.com. And I would love to speak to you. Today's guest is Kate Nelson. Kate is an alcohol freedom coach, and she's been alcohol free for 3.5 years and is living her best life ever. And she aspires to be a beacon of hope and guidance for others struggling. So Kate and I have a really fun conversation. She's actually going to be in Marrakesh soon as well, so I'm hoping I'll be able to meet up with her. And so without further ado, here is the conversation with Kate. So welcome, Kate. Thank you for being on the podcast. How are you today?
Oh, thanks, UK. So nice to see you. Thank you. I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Brilliant.
It's very early where I am. It's very early. The sun's just, you can see just the sun's just rising here.
Because you're in Canada, which is amazing. So you were saying it's like 6:30 in the morning before we came on this recording. I have to say, I'm very impressed. What's the temperature?
Oh, we have been thick in snow this last week and a half. I would say a constant minus. So we do Celsius, so a constant -5, 6. So freezing.
Okay. Yeah.
So the snow comes and doesn't go. So imagine that. I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I remember I worked in Poland. I did a project there for about 4 or 5 months. And I remember arriving and it was -20 and the snow was just so thick. And it was to the point that you couldn't go anywhere. You were literally going from taxi to office to the hotel just because it was too cold to really be outside. But I imagine that's similar over there as well. I know it gets a lot worse. So -5 seems...
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
okay.
It can be -30s, and I know exactly what you mean. You have to clear the drive, so that's a bit of work. And then you get in the car to go to work, to go to the grocery store. And then if you want to go for a walk, which is lovely, you dress up like you're going skiing. You dress up like you're going skiing.
But I'm sure that the air must be very clear. It must be quite a nice, fresh feel.
Well, there's not a lot of blue sky, so the blue sky makes everything feel better. When the brightness is up, so that's always good. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, Anyway, let's move on from weather. That's not why we're really here, but it's fascinating because obviously the listener will hear you as someone British, but you're obviously living in Canada. So that's exciting. Maybe let's delve in a bit. Why don't we sort of talk about your story? What brings you to be on the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast? How long have you been alcohol free? What was your alcohol story? And then we can go from there.
Yeah, well, I love your work. I've been following you and your, if we call the word sober coach as well. So we always look out for each other. And I've been alcohol free for 3.5 years. So August 25th was my day one, if you want to call it. And living my best life, best decision I've ever made. And what brought me to that place was, to be honest with you, decades of drinking. I started drinking in my teens, all through university. I traveled Australia, Thailand, met my husband in Australia. Then we settled in the UK. We had our kids. And drinking from quite an early age became a core value. And what I mean by that is it's what we did, it's how we socialized, it's how we spent our time, bars, pubs. Underage drinking in the UK, especially back in the day, was very, it's what we could do. And then over the years, I realized that my tolerance was increasing. I needed more to get the same effect. And I started to get embarrassed about the amount I was drinking. So I'll give you an example. I could open a bottle of wine. I'd want 3 glasses before I even started to get that heady feeling. But I didn't want to be seen with my husband and my growing young family. I have a daughter and a son. I didn't want them to see me chugging wine while I was just cooking dinner. So I started the hiding, which is having another bottle somewhere else. And I didn't like that I did that, but it was a reality because I just needed more to get the effect I wanted. And that carried on. And to be honest with you, I never had any big rock bottom. I never had anything terrible happen. It was just a growing awareness over decades that my alcohol use was out of control, out of balance. And then things came to a head during COVID, like for so many of us, things like we were all thrown off whack, weren't we? We were chaos. And my children at the time were 23 and 21, so they had already left home, but they had come home to live. My daughter, especially, who's the older one, 23, she started to really notice that I was drunk, just drunk sometimes. Usually kept it to Friday, Saturday night, but in the weekends it was getting earlier and more earlier in the day. And she was like, Mum, where's all this booze? Because you've only got a glass of wine on the counter. What are you doing? And she cottoned on to the fact that I was hiding alcohol, which was very, I hated it. And to jump ahead, I nearly lost my daughter over my drinking. She hated it. She couldn't understand it. My husband, who is probably a moderate drinker, he intervened, maybe on her behalf a bit, the pair of them. And they said, look, we think your drinking is a problem for you. Will you get help? And I was like, no way. What do you mean get help? I'm not doing anything like that. And with all due respect to AA and recovery programs, I didn't see myself as one of those people. Okay, I just didn't. And I thought, I'll sort this out myself. So I Googled quick lips. I love reading and I love learning. And I got into a book called It's Naked Mind by Annie Grace, who has actually become my mentor and my teacher. And I became affiliated to some of her programs and I started to follow the methodology. And anyway, so I tried to moderate. I tried to be a normal drinker, but I couldn't. If I had one glass of wine, I would want the bottle, and it was using willpower and it was very, very difficult. And I realized, and so we're going back 3.5 years now, that the only option for me where I felt I could really grow and thrive and transform was to become alcohol free completely. So I did. And with the help of This Naked Mind, which I was now on a program, having read the book, I transformed my life around. And I'll just mention quickly, the methodology around This Naked Mind is very much one of changing how you think and feel, changing your desires, changing how you want to show up in the world, emotional based goals. And if you can apply that technique, your behavior change becomes more effortless because you are wanting to live that desired life, if you can follow what I mean there. So I then went on to become a coach. I'm a This Naked Mind coach. And I now try and share my learning and my stories with others who are struggling like I was. So that's a quick summary.
Gosh, there's so much there. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, I imagine it was quite a tough time with your daughter and with your husband as well when that reality sort of came to a head. How did you feel about it? Obviously, you said you weren't one of those people, but talk us through the impact that had to whatever extent you want to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, imagine your grown-up daughter catching you drinking from a closet. All right, I'll be honest, hiding bottles in different areas and swigging from a bottle and catching you. You can imagine the devastation. You can imagine her devastation seeing her mom, the person in the world who was supposed to be there. Now she's an adult, but her mom, all she wanted to do was love me, for me to be a mom that cared for her. And I was doing this. So absolutely awful. And she once said to me a quote. She said, "You love alcohol more than me, more than the family." And I said, "Of course I don't. Don't be silly." But in a funny kind of way, I did. And that's a very big thing to say, but you'll understand what I mean when I say I was trapped. I'd become prey to an addictive substance and I wasn't rational. I just always deluded myself and said to myself, yeah, but it's only a bit of wine and it's not all the time. And I tried to cover up the reality, but the reality was that alcohol was controlling me. It was governing me and it was dictating my everyday, really. So I was on the verge of losing my daughter. I mean, to the point my husband and I sat down and said, how are we going to navigate moving forward with my daughter not being in our lives? And he said, she'll always be in my life, but I can't control her being in yours. And even then, I couldn't stop. I needed help. And absolutely awful. Yeah. It broke my heart, but I was still drinking. It was crazy.
Yeah. And I can see bless you, you're getting emotional about it, but it is a triggering thing, I'm sure. And it's really tough. And I imagine there would have been the guilt and the regret and all of that whirls around, and it's a tough old thing. But maybe we pick up on a couple of things you said, which I'd love to talk about a bit. You talked about alcohol being a core value and that there was a specific effect that you were trying to get. You wanted that effect. Someone who's listening will probably relate to that. When you say it was a core value, I talk a lot about it being an identity. A lot of people are the Prosecco queen or the gin and tonic and champagne. But when you say it was a core value and you were trying to get an effect you felt that it was giving you, maybe we can talk a bit about that, because I think that'd be really helpful for someone who might be just thinking about what they want to do or how they can change.
Yeah, well, I think as for the effect, I mean, I was a red wine drinker, but I admit it became other things as well, even spirits. I loved that first glass where you got that buzz, that tipsy feeling, but it would have to be a big glass by the end, if you know what I mean. I loved that initial headiness. I now understand the science behind it, so I understand what happens to the body, which is your blood alcohol content rises, you get that initial stimulation, but then you start to plummet down. And then your stress hormones kick in, so you start to get that edgy feeling of wanting more and more and more. So understanding that is important, but it became my identity. And how I understand it is that there's different beliefs around alcohol that we all have. So some of us are completely indifferent, some of us don't drink at all. Some of us drink when we're socializing and we just keep it to going out. But some of us drink to cope. We give it a job. And I was at that level of alcohol was a method to have fun. It was a method to relax at the end of the day. It was a method to give myself a treat. And I think when you start to give it that job, it becomes your identity in that it becomes core to who you are. everything I did, and I'll admit this to you, was, will there be wine there? How much? Who am I going to be with? Will they be drinking? Will I have to drive? And even if it was a shower or a christening or a wedding, well, a wedding usually, but even if it was an afternoon gathering, it would be, will there be wine there? Halloween parties with the kids, will there be wine there? Mummy things when the kids were growing up, will there, I mean, usually there was, but so that's what I mean by my core value. It was central to everything in a way. And what makes me sad, you talk about guilt and regret, is that when the kids were growing up, I would rather have drank a bottle of wine in my basement. We have basements here in North America, rather than go out bowling and spending time with my kids. If it was a Friday, Saturday night, which was my drinking nights, I didn't drink every night. I would put alcohol above everything. And that now I'm on the other side. That is crazy to me, because it's like, oh my God, I mean, I have everything within myself to enjoy my family, my kids, a nice dinner, a good book, my friends. I don't need to be drunk. But at that time, it was like the drink was the Alexa. It was like, well, if I could do anything, the booze does it. And that's what I believed.
Yeah, and it is a belief, and it coming from the UK, it's so ingrained in our society that everything revolves around it. And actually, if you don't drink, then you've got the issue. You've had a problem. You've hit rock bottom. That's the automatic response. It's getting better now, but especially when we were growing up, and the concept of, if you're an adult, you need to drink. If you go out, you need to drink. If you don't drink, you're pregnant, or you're on antibiotics or something. You had no reason. Normal people drink. And that was that's something that I think had been messaged to us forever. And get to Christmas and all you see are these bottles of half price booze. Get your gins, get your vodkas, get your this, get your that, get your 6 bottles of wine, 25% off, all of that. And it was just encouraged. So it's absolutely understandable. People have get to the point where that is what they think they need, because in any social context, if it's a sunny day, everyone's like, oh, let's go to the beer garden and have a glass of something. So I want to highlight, it's not anyone's fault. And fundamentally, it's society, it's the big alcohol, the spend that they spend on advertising globally, alcohol companies, is second to only cars. So when it comes to marketing, and we all sit there and think, well, it must be us, but actually alcohol's an addictive substance. And so no matter who drinks it, you will become addicted in some way. And when it has been years, it's just your automatic response. It's what your subconscious goes to any time to help you, because it knows that's the answer and it's trying to keep you safe. So we could go into it a huge amount, but I'm really grateful for you just being so honest about the impact, because we don't realize the impact we're having on people and the impact we're having on ourselves and what we think is just normal. So let's move on then. It was the 25th of August, 2021. Yeah. So what led you to that?
Well, I was 4 to 6 weeks since I was really seriously thinking about it. And I was trying to moderate. I'd agreed certain non-negotiables with my husband and my daughter, because they were involved by this time. Certain things I would not do. And if I couldn't maintain that, I would look to stop drinking in whatever way I could. And basically, I got busted, to tell you just simply what happened. I'm a golf player. I was playing golf for the afternoon. I'd had a drink with the girls. I had another drink on the patio. I came home and I was buzzy and I wanted more. And I had a stash still, even though I promised I wouldn't do it. And I started to drink, and I tried to avoid the family that evening because I thought they'll cotton on to me. And basically, my husband did. He said, look, you clearly didn't just have a couple of drinks. You've been drinking more. And he said, what are you going to do? And if I had a rock bottom, it was that night. My feeling of absolute despair kicked in. I knew I couldn't be a normal drinker. and I went to bed. He wouldn't sleep with me if I'd been drinking, so that was quite regularly, separate rooms. And I had that awful 3 a.m. feeling. I woke up like, I've done it again. I've broken every promise. You've got to stop. And I walked into my husband's bedroom and I said, I'm not drinking anymore. I need to tell you, there's liquor bottles in the basement that are full of water. All right, I'm going to be honest with you. I need you to know how dire it's become. And I need you to hold me accountable. I am sick of this. This is destroying my life. The cognitive dissonance, which you'll know what I mean by that, Dupe, which is the war in the brain, the wanting to be not drinking, but that habit dragging you down every time. I was sick of it. And I had my day one. And I'll admit, the first 3 days we were in Montreal with my son, dropping him off at university, I was screaming. I was like, why have I decided to do this? Just pretend I hadn't said it. Pretend I hadn't said it. But my husband was with me every step of the way, and he's my biggest supporter. And now my daughter, ironically, which I'll go on to tell you about in a sec, he said, Kate, please, just have your day one, and then we'll deal with day 2 tomorrow, and then day 3. And that's what we did. And every day I grew, and during the week was a little bit easier. The weekend, again, kicked in. But I think my husband's support, and I told my daughter what I was doing, and she said, yeah, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. But she was so desperate for me. And with their support, I managed day by day, week by week. And then I got into the methodology that I now coach by. That was my support mechanism, where I learned how to live happily as a non-drinker.
Yeah, and that's really important as well, to live happily as a non-drinker. I love that you said that. It is something that I think a lot of people assume, that you're depriving yourself or you're white knuckling it all the time, and it's not at all. It's really enjoyable, and that's why obviously my company is called Thrive Alcohol Free, and it's all about thriving. It's not about giving anything up. It's only gaining. So, I mean, that's amazing. So the 3, you said weekends, that's something that a lot of my clients struggle with. So your weekends were the points where you would really want to drink early on.
Yeah.
So what did you do at that point, especially in the early days? Because I'm imagining you didn't discover this naked mind straight away.
Yeah, I used a bit of common sense. I kept myself busy. I changed up what I did. And this is really important, because we have our associations with drinking. We have our time of the day. Some people call it the witching hour. They have certain people who will encourage them to drink. So certain associations equals drinking. And I encourage my clients to think very strongly about this. Change up your routine, implement different pastimes, and maybe take up a new habit, get creative. I'll tell you what I did, because I would look forward to drinking all week, and I usually would have one night I would drink. So I was never all week not drinking. But come Friday, oh my gosh, the dopamine, the anticipation of the drink would start to build up on even the Wednesday, the Thursday. I can't wait to drink on Friday, even though it would make me feel awful and I'd have the most awful hangover. The anticipation of the drinking. So what I did instead was, on my Fridays, I love movies, right? I love films. So I took myself off every Friday afternoon to the 4 p.m. late matinee show at the cinema. Didn't matter what was on, there'd always be something. And that was a huge distraction. Then I would also, so I loved wine when I was cooking. That was a big thing. Back in the day, you get your chili con carne going with a bottle of wine on the go. So I changed that up. I would get my you call it slow cooker in the UK, but crock pot. I'd get like all my vegetables dead early in the morning, get that on, so that I wasn't tempted with that witchy hour. So I implemented a new routine so that I made it as easy, and it wasn't easy, but as easy as I could to navigate those early days. And then when I started to feel stronger, I started to experiment again with, well, have a Friday, maybe sit in the bar with your husband or have a friend over and see if you can navigate that. And bit by bit by bit, you start to build your experiences and you start to realize that you can do it, because it's just an illusion. Alcohol is just an illusion. a very powerful one. And as you say, captures so many people. But we are stronger than that. We can boss that subconscious brain about, and we can say, look, I am enough. I have everything within me to live happily. And bit by bit, you carve out the life that you are seeking. And when you do, it's the most wonderful thing, because it's liberation, it's freedom, it's wonderful.
And I can see that as you describe it, you come alive. It's obviously changed your life. Got to the point now where you see the benefits and you see just how incredible this life is. Because I wonder how you felt initially. What did you potentially, because it sounds like you're a bit ambushed to do it. Obviously there was no rock bottom, as it were, but it was your family that convinced you to do it. So you were doing it for them potentially initially. But what's the biggest surprise that you've had from becoming alcohol free that you would never have thought would be the case when you were ambushed?
Oh, I can't even begin to list them. It's amazing. This is something I love to share, and maybe your listeners, because people are amazed by it. When I was a drinker, I had 3 health conditions. 2 of them were with my skin. So one was psoriasis, one was rosacea, which is on the face, lots of lines, broken veins, but that was kind of the truth. But rosacea, rashy face, and high blood pressure. I'd had high blood pressure, even though I was a very active person. I had high blood pressure for years. And within 3 months, all 3 conditions, I got over them. And my doctor, I talked to, because she knew what I was doing. And she said, the timing of it, I am certain it is because you withdrew. I didn't stop drinking. We withdrew alcohol from our lives. So health is amazing. Sleep. My sleep is I have less sleep now, but I have proper sleep. And you'll know what I mean by that. Alcohol disrupts your sleep. You're not always aware of it because you can be in a passed out state a lot of the time. I would go to sleep dead easy, but I was passing out really in reality. But now I have solid chunks of deep sleep, light sleep, REM sleep, all of them essential for your well-being. That's very, very structured now. I'm not tired. I used to be wanting an afternoon nap every afternoon if I wasn't out at work. Now I'm touch wood, and I'm 60 years old, so I'm not that young. And
you look amazing for 60.
Oh, thank you. And my relationship with my daughter, oh my gosh, we are best friends. She lives in Toronto, about an hour away. We chat on the phone. She is just so proud of her mom. And my son, who I haven't really mentioned, he's 2 years younger. And oh my God, you're going to love this. He did a 5-year engineering degree at McGill University. He's a smart lad. He decided to become entrepreneurial. He set up his own business to help new coaches. So now he has a tech platform. You'll know what I mean by a platform, won't you? Like where I do all my work. And he has taken Go High Level, which is an all-in-one platform, and he's applied it to new coaches. So I help him. I tell my coaching colleagues about his service. He's made his niche new coaches like me, because that was another thing. Being the age I am, to suddenly start my own business was very daunting, because I have no business experience. I've never done marketing or sales or anything. So all in all, the ripple effect of me stopping drinking has been absolutely phenomenal. And it's the gift that keeps coming. Things I would never have expected, for my son to actually change complete direction, to be best friends with my daughter, to be healthier. And as for happiness, the rows have stopped. I don't argue. Of course, we argue a bit, but it's not about alcohol anymore. And that's what a lot of the arguments were about. You're drunk again, I'm going to leave the room. I don't want to be hanging out with you. You've had a lot to drink. I'm going to go downstairs. To be rid of all that turmoil that came about from a destructive habit. It was a habit I'd put on myself that was causing all this devastation around me. And to be on the other side of that. You say I'm smiling all the time, because I'm still like a kid at Christmas. It's like, I just love it. Well, let me just tell you one more thing. We talked before we recorded about travel, and you're in Marrakesh. Can I say that you're away? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you love your travel. You're going to Bali. And this time last year, I was in Vietnam and Cambodia. I met my husband in Australia. So travel's a huge part for me. But what I've said since I've been alcohol free is I've asked my husband, I've said, look, rather than a pub crawl in Ireland or the UK, can we go to Cambodia and see the sunrise? We went to the Galapagos and we were on excursions at 6 a.m. watching the sunrise there with the monkeys and the snakes and everything. And so I've changed what I want to do because I feel so well. And I have no problem getting up. I met you at 6 a.m. I have no problem getting up and doing these things because I'm not plagued by that hangover, that constant feeling of feeling unwell and nauseous and compromised. And am I going to faint? Am I going to get to drink enough water? Oh, awful, awful, awful. And I'm just so pleased to have my true health back. I really am. Sorry, I'm going off on one. You asked me one thing and then I could start talking about a million other things. So I apologise there.
Oh gosh, don't apologise at all. No, it's all fascinating, and it's amazing that what probably would have felt like a negative initially when you were like, I have to do this, I need to do this, not that you actually get to do it. And I think that's the difference, isn't it? And obviously you're now there where you can see the impact it's had. And I loved what you talked about when you said it's the ripple effect that it's had, because it has affected your whole family, you taking this one decision. Yeah. And then you've gone on and you're now helping people as well, which is incredible. So it's going to just keep going, which is amazing for a decision. And I think a lot of people underestimate this decision because, one, they underestimate they can actually make that decision. And it is a choice, and you don't have to go down the AA route. You don't need to label yourself at all. I don't believe in that at all. You are not an alcoholic. You don't have the problem. It is an addictive substance, as we said earlier, and it's not about you as a person. That's very different. So I don't believe in all of those labels. But the fact that you can actually make that decision, you can give yourself permission to do something different. And then you've created a life that works for you. I love the fact that you thought, I'm going to take myself off to the cinema at 4, because then generally it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, but people want the booze, but you'd be watching a film. So that was your distraction. And then the fact that you love travel, and it's one of the reasons I'm loving Marrakesh at the moment, but I did talk about this a while ago, the fact that if I had done this 5, 6 years ago, I would have probably been quite annoyed with Marrakesh because there's nowhere to really get booze. It's not as promulgated. There are places, of course, that you can buy it, but you have to sort of hunt them out. All the local restaurants do these fabulous mocktails, which I obviously really appreciate. So if I was drinking, I would have been like, right, no, I need wine. Where's the wine? And we were in an Indian restaurant the other day, which is beautiful, overlooking the Medina, rooftop thing with beautiful pool and all the rest of it. It's our favourite meal in the UK. And so there were lots of Indian people around, and you could tell that they were all relieved that they were able to order wine quite easily. It wasn't an issue. And I just think, again, it's just something that you don't appreciate, things like sunrises and monkeys and nature and just being there. It washed over you, didn't it? Well, it did for me. I love nature now, but it wasn't something that I would really pay attention to. And the fact that we get to see these beautiful sunsets and sunrises wherever you are, you don't have to be anywhere exotic to see a sunrise and a sunset. It happens every day. And just going for walks and seeing butterflies and things like that just change your day and bring you such joy and bring me, I'm talking for you, but it brings me such joy. And so I do love that you talked about, you used to go for the pub crawls and now you go traveling for other reasons. And I think that's fabulous.
Yeah.
So you described yourself as a global traveler. So tell us a bit about the traveling that you do.
Yeah, so because my husband and I, we met in Australia in our early 20s, we were backpackers back in the day, and the first year and a half of our relationship was spent backpacking. So that was in our blood. And we came back and we obviously settled down, but we've always had, like, we got married in Sri Lanka, and we've been to Kenya on safari. And if you make travel a priority, you can travel the world if you want to. It has to be a priority. It's not like we got a bag of money, we just prioritize it. We did travel a bit with the kids, but not like we do now. And I'll just tell you a little story very quickly. I think I'd been alcohol free for 13 months. And we were going to the UK like we do quite regularly to see family. And my husband said, oh, let's go to Ireland first. And my mother was from Ireland. So I was, yeah, well, let's go to Ireland. And it wasn't my husband's fault. And I let him organise it. But he basically organised a pub crawl, staying in pubs, because we used to love pubs. We loved the pub culture and staying in old inns. And it was a road trip. So imagine, and no disrespect to my husband, but you'll understand what I mean. I was in the car with him all day. And then to sit in a bar with him all night, it wasn't my idea of holiday. And this is where it's very important to set boundaries and to self-preserve. So I had to be really honest. And I said, look, I love you to bits, but I do not want to sit in a bar with you while you have 3 pints of Guinness. I'd rather listen to a podcast or read my book. And please don't take that offensively, but I do not want to do that when I've been with you all day. So that was when I kind of put my foot down. And I think you do have to put your foot down as a new non-drinker and serve yourself well. And I said, look, can we change up the holidays? Can we resurrect our youth a bit and go global? We're not too old. And what put me off going to Vietnam was it's the other side of the world. I mean, you are literally the opposite side of the clock. But then I thought, well, I'm well, and I can do it. And it's like with everything, isn't it? Your anticipation is always harder than the reality. And I was absolutely fine with the jet lag. You get on with it, sort of thing. So I was like, can we go to these places in our lifetime, which are just magnificent? And so the bucket list is, and I shared with you, I'm going to Marrakesh, and maybe we can meet up. But I want to go to these places where it is culturally very different, because I want to see how people live. And that's my joy now. It's not sitting in a bar. It's people watching different cultures. When we were in Vietnam, in the capital, Hanoi, you see such a different way of living. You see a family of 4 on a scooter. You see how people don't stop at crossings. The traffic keeps going. There are bikes everywhere. It is chaos. There is cooking in the street. And some people would say, oh, that's not my idea of hell. But it's not. It's how they live. And you're agreeing with me here. I can see that I'm in awe of just seeing how people live. And that is what has come to me again, because I had it in my early 20s and I'm now getting it again, because I'm not obsessed and fixated with where's the nearest bar? How am I going to get my wine today? Like you mentioned, when's it going to be happy hour? When am I going to get my fix? When am I going to have? Because it doesn't matter if I'm having a hot chocolate at 9 o'clock at night or I'm in a cafe. That is what alcohol freedom is. It takes away this fixation. You are free to do exactly within reason what you want to do. And it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So true. And yeah, it's a joy. It really is. And I do think people underestimate the mental capacity that it takes up. I think a lot of people think, well, I don't drink that much and doesn't take up too much. It's only when I'm drinking. Well, if you think about the lead up and all those conversations that happen in your head before you get there, and that might start at midday, knowing you're going to drink at 7. And then the next day when you feel that anxiety, the hangover and anxiety, and then you have that dread and that pit in your stomach and what did I say, and then you don't remember half the conversations you've had, or you can't remember what you watched on the TV the night before or whatever, and you've woken up at 3 a.m. berating yourself. There's so much mental chatter that goes on and it's constant, and you think it's not taking up a lot of your life, but it is. And that's why I think if for whatever reason, no matter how much you're drinking, I never really think it's worth going into how much people have drunk before they've stopped drinking, because everyone's different. My message is, if you think that life can be better in some way, emotionally, spiritually, physically, or mentally, take a break. Give yourself the option to take a break. Do 21 days. I did 21 days. I said I was going to do 21 days. And that was me just thinking, let me see if I can do 21 days and then maybe have a reset and moderate and whatnot. 21 days became 30, 60, 90. It'll be 5 years in November. So you sit there and you think, that wasn't what I was expecting. And I never say to people, do it forever. It's not about that. It's just about how you're feeling and what are you gaining from it. And if you're gaining something, then why would you go back? So I really advocate everything you said. And I love the way you describe it all with such joy. And so the final thing I wanted to talk about, you have now gone full circle and you've become a coach. And so tell us a bit about what brought you to do that. I know it's all through this naked mind. So the influence that Annie Grace has had in your life is incredible. But what then made you think, I'm going to help others with this? And tell us a bit about what you offer.
So I've always worked with people. I'm a social worker by profession. That was in the UK before I immigrated. And I thought, well, how can I turn this into a business where I'm actually helping other people? So I set about getting a website, getting certified. I have 2 certifications, one in this naked mind, but then she went on to do an effective liminal psychology certification. So I got that as well. And I invite people to have one-on-one coaching with me. And I also have 2 communities. So I like to cross the spectrum in a way of what people can afford, what they want, what kind of one-on-one attention they want. So the one-on-one is very much maybe similar to yours. I usually do a 12-week intensive course or a 6-week take a break, a basic. I use this naked mind methodology. So again, it sounds very similar to yours in a way. It's much more about how you feel, your desires, rather than the emphasis on the behavior of just giving up. It's about how do you want to feel? How do you want to live your life? And even if there is a drink involved, what have you learned from it? So if you have a drink, that's fine. What did the drink? Did it serve you? What were your findings from that mindful experience that you had? We like to call it data points or a mindful experience. The communities I have are one's a very small subscription group, very small and intimate, and one's a free group that I have. And it's just a matter of coming together with like-minded people where we discuss our journey, our wins, our woes, what we're struggling with. And I just love people. So for me, it's a joy to actually meet people who are coming through this, to help people that are struggling, and then to see the other side for people as well and how much happier they are. And it's just a joy. And I love that I get to do this work. So, thank you for asking me that. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and I think the work you're doing is fantastic. I think we need, there can never be enough alcohol-free sober coaches. There's a need for it, and the fact that more and more people are getting into this space is incredible, and also validates what we're all doing as well. So I'm really excited for you, and I'll be keen to see how that goes. And then your final passion, which is a passion of mine as well, is fitness, and you're a fitness instructor. Do you still do that as well as your coaching?
Yes. So when I came to Canada, it was hard for me just to slot back as a social worker without retraining. I would have had to have got a Canadian social work qualification, and I just didn't really want to do that. So I got a job for a non-profit. I work with the senior demographic, which isn't that senior, actually. I'm in it, 55 and over, and I'm affiliated to their fitness program. So I basically work in the mornings. I do my fitness. I go out into the communities, to the likes of sports centres, the YMCA. And then since COVID, we have half our classes online. We do Zoom exercise. So they're in my basement. I log in and I teach a class in the basement. And these are 55 and overs, some of them as old as in their 80s. And we do a gentle exercise routine. And I love that because I've always been healthy and fit. Well, apart from the boozing. But I've always looked after myself, and I do the 5K park run. Have you heard of that, UK? The park run every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. All over the world.
Amazing.
So our family in the UK are big runners, so they got us into that. So we do one locally here in Canada, and that's something my husband and I do. Every Saturday morning we do the 5K run, and I work out every day in my basement. So to me, I like to bring it into my coaching because it's the perfect partnership, the well-being partnership of living well emotionally, physically, taking care of yourself and being responsible for yourself. But if you love exercise as well, bring that on. I love that. And so I do that in the morning. And then my afternoons, I try and concentrate on building my business, do a lot of social media like you. I'm always putting stuff out on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and engaging. I try and do podcasts, meet people like you. Very important to meet people like you and try and get attention, I guess. We're trying to get ourselves out there so that people come to us so that we can help them and we can thrive as a business owner as well. And it's a great place to be. So all in all, life is good. Yeah, it's excellent.
Amazing. And yeah, the park runs are really cool, aren't they? The fact that every Saturday you can just go for that 5K, and you're right, they're all over the place. Wherever you are, if you're listening, if you're interested in that, go find one, because it's all like volunteers that do them, but they seem to be the thing to do, especially if you're just getting into running as well. And yeah, they're fun. I've actually done one, but a lot of my friends do them, but I like running on my own. So I've done 2 marathons. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that was since stopping drinking. So I hadn't run since school, and I started running February 21. That's probably when I first, so 4 years ago. And I did my first London Marathon in April 23, did my second last April. So
thank you. And knock on, well, gosh, that's amazing. That's, oh, well, the 5K part run might be a bit.
I do 5K most days. That's my standard. 5 to 10K is my standard running, unless I'm training for a half or a marathon. Yeah. But I love the 5K. I think it's a great run, and you can get it done quite quickly, and that's your exercise for the day. So it's fabulous.
Exactly. And I mean, it's something I do with my husband. And you know, when I think we go to a lovely park, and I pretend, a bit stupid this, but I pretend I'm in Central Park, New York, you know, like, because there's a little lake and everything, and I run around with these other people, but obviously I'm in my own world, my headphones on. I don't really chat to other people really fast, to be honest. And it never stops crossing my mind that I am doing this on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, whereas I would normally have been in bed with a hangover, always on a Saturday morning. And isn't this just wonderful that here I am? And then by 10 o'clock, we're home. I'll get my coffee on the go, get my book. Beautiful summers here in Ontario, sit outside on the porch, and it's a morning well spent. Absolutely. It's fantastic. Absolutely. I just love it. Yeah. Oh, I love that you run. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, my son's a marathon runner. He's done it too as well. And he says you get the bug, don't you? Do you get the bug?
I haven't got one planned for this year yet, but there was the Marrakesh Marathon. I was actually back in the UK when it happened a few weeks ago, and it did make me think, actually, maybe I just pick somewhere and I just do it. But I'm not really in the mood to train for it at the moment. It'll probably be in the autumn when I do mine next. I think I've one this year. So yeah. But it is a lot of training, and it takes up a lot of time. And I think by the time I did the second one, I was like, yeah, I think I need to break from this now. I think I just need to run for fun and not for training for something. So we'll see. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for being on and for sharing your story. It's been really lovely to meet you. And with all my guests, I end with asking the question. And I think you've said it in so many ways, but maybe in a sentence, what does thriving alcohol-free mean to you?
Well, it means, I call my business Freedom Effect, and it's the effect of freedom on me. It is freedom, it's liberation. It is beautiful relationships. I can't really describe it more than that. It's not what you get to lose, it's what you get to gain. And I always say that becoming alcohol free, it's the gift that keeps coming, because you can imagine what your life would be like, but really you don't know that it's going to keep giving. And that's why I mentioned the health benefits as well. I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know I would become best friends with my daughter. I didn't know that my son would build a business around coaching. And it's the ripple effect. So what I would say to anybody is visualize your life alcohol-free and then add a ton more on, because it's coming your way.
I love that answer, and it's so true. It really is. It is the gift that keeps giving, and you don't know what to expect. So just keep going with it. And heavens open, opportunities come, benefits happen that just were never planned. And I think that's the joy. And that's why so many of us who have stopped drinking are now shouting about it from the rooftops towards everyone on this side of the fence, because we know the benefits. And so if you're listening and you're inspired, then I'd love you to get in touch with Kate, get in touch with myself, and we can help you on that journey, because it is the best thing that you could do. I say it's a superpower and it makes you brave. So let's do it.
It's amazing. Yeah, it really is. It's fantastic. Yeah. Shout out for those tops.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we close, anything else you want to share with the listener, and how can they get in touch with you?
Well, just a pleasure to be with you. I've really, really enjoyed meeting you. And I would love anybody to get in touch with me. So my website is www.freedomaffect. That's affect, AFFECT. People get confused.com. I'll just give you my Instagram, which is Kate_sobriety and fitness. And I love the work you do. I feel that we've got so much in common. It's just lovely to hang out with you. And just good luck to your listeners. I wish you all the best. And if you're wondering, can you do it? Just take that leap of faith and believe in yourself, just like we did. And I've never met anybody say they regret removing alcohol from their lives. So have you? I've never met anybody.
No, I haven't.
Regret it. No. So just take faith, believe in yourself, and it is possible. And visualize the life that you want for yourself, because it's out there, just waiting for you to grasp it.
Yeah, that is out there waiting, and it's so true. So thank you for being a fabulous guest, and never know, we might meet in Marrakesh next week. So look forward to that. Okay. Well, thank you, Kate. It was so lovely to talk to you. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I am looking forward to seeing you when you are here in Marrakesh. I hope you found that conversation helpful and inspiring, and maybe it gave you some food for thought to think maybe it's time to take a break. It's time to give myself permission to do something different and explore what this alcohol-free lifestyle is all about. If that's the case, why not join the 21-day alcohol-free challenge? It starts on Monday, and I look forward to seeing you there. And if you are thinking, well, maybe I don't need it, or what will people say? I would like to say to you, this is about you. You only have one life. And with that life, you could do anything you want to do. You can create the rules. You can set the boundaries. You can live the life, whatever life that is that you desire. You can create your dreamiest life possible. But it's always easier when you're not foggy headed, when you don't feel lethargic, when you don't think, actually, I can't do it. When you are alcohol free, you suddenly become brave. You get a superpower. It doesn't happen overnight, but you start to not worry about what other people think, and you do what you want to do. And it gives you the opportunity to step into a life that, as Kate described, you may not expect. And so why not take 21 days, explore it, and then see where you want to go from there? You can always go back to it, but I do encourage you, if for whatever reason you're on the fence or you're thinking, I'll do it next time, why not today? Start today. Okay, well, on that note, I hope you have the most fabulous week, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe so you get alerted every time I drop a new episode. I'd love it if you could rate, review, and share this episode. Feel free to tag me on Instagram at Thrive Alcohol Free and follow me for daily tips. If you'd like to work with me, I offer one-to-one coaching and have my group coaching program. If you're not yet ready for coaching, I also have a self-paced online course which is a companion to my book, A Cocktail of Clarity. All the links are in the show notes. I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful week. Take care.